They're not more natural. Glucose is glucose is glucose. I'll say glucose in this particular case because, yes, you did use whole grains. So I'm going to say glucose is glucose is glucose. You see, the cell doesn't know where the glucose molecule came from. The cell doesn't know. In last week's show, which is archived, and you can watch this on YouTube, in last week's show, the board behind me, which is not here on this week's show, showed that 3 glucose molecules all written out. The structure of the glucose molecule is the same. The glucose molecule is the same in whole wheat bread versus white bread, in whole wheat pasta versus white pasta, in brown rice versus white rice. The sugar molecule is the same. It's the same molecule. I'm stressing this to try to get my point across. So it doesn't matter where it came from. It's not like once it's digested, that sugar molecule that was once part of the whole wheat piece of bread, it's not like that glucose molecule gets to the cell and the cell goes, "Hey, how you doing? You came from a piece of whole wheat bread. Great for you. Come on in. We're going to do great things with you." But then another glucose molecule, which came from, Snickers bar, it gets to the level of the cell and the cell goes, "Oh, you came from a Snickers bar. I can't let you in. You're bad. But, if I let you in, I'm going to do bad things with you." No. The cell is not cognitive. The cell is not aware. Each individual cell of our body is not capable of thinking or reasoning or thinking or reasonable thought. So to think that the body will treat natural, I can't stand when people do this, natural, but I just did it, natural sugars differently than, well, what's the converse of a natural sugar? And immediately I think of this. High fructose corn syrup. Okay. Say that out loud at like a dietitian seminar, right? They'll run for the hills. It's really freaky. High fructose corn syrup. Oh my God, high fructose corn syrup. What could be more natural than high fructose corn syrup? Think about it. Break the word up, okay? Break the word up. High fructose, fructose. Fructose comes from fruit. High fructose came from fruit. Corn syrup, corn, came from corn. What is more natural than fruit and corn in the dietetic world? The American Heart Association would endorse that. Eat more fruit, eat more corn. It's more natural. But yet we run for the hills when people mention high fructose corn syrup. If we're looking at a candy bar and we see high fructose corn syrup, we won't eat it because it's bad for us. But what could be more natural? Now, if that doesn't seem weird or like a paradox to you, and it should, that's just underscores, just highlights the problem we have in the dietary world, with the foods we consume and just the incorrect way we think about food and our beliefs, which are a lot of times wrong. Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate it. Let's see here. We got, let me get this one here. We got Luke, and I'm going to try to pronounce this, Luke, so forgive me if I don't. From Chiloquin, Oregon. Actually, my sister lives in Oregon. Do you know her? No, I'm just teasing. All right. So he said, oh, this is a good one. Dr. Carlson, I think you are absolutely crazy. Don't say hello to my sister then. I think you are absolutely crazy with what you are saying. I like that. You are going against all accepted dietary wisdom accumulated over the last 50 years or so. There are countless articles, documents, and well-controlled studies that prove I am wrong, or you are wrong. First off, Luke, say hello to my sister. That's cool because she lives there. My brother did too. I was just teasing. I like that question, because I feel the emotion. It's palpable in the question. There's emotion there. There's frustration there. And I am honored and flattered and humbled that you actually took the time out to ask me this question, okay? I'm not crazy. And the problem is that I'm basing what I say on the facts. And, everything in front of me here, I read right from the side package and label. Carbohydrates are converted into sugar. Both fructose and glucose and other sugars our bodies convert into plaque-forming deadly cholesterol and fat. 50 years or so, in the beginning of the show, I held up Gary Taubes' book, Good Calories, Bad Calories, and the introduction takes us back to like the 1700s. Where, I believe it was the Banting diet. The Banting diet, people were known to bant. And this was correlated with this was a low carbohydrate, more fat, more cholesterol dietary pattern. So even as long ago as over 150 years or so, we knew that eating carbohydrates made us heavier. As far as the countless studies that you refer to, I can only thank, Mr. Gary Taubes for writing this book, because I'm going to refer you right back to Good Calories, Bad Calories. I mean, my book, Genocide, How Your Doctor's Dietary Ignorance Will Kill You, was written, it was more of a diary. It was more of about what I saw in clinical practice, about what helped my patients. So I don't have a lot of footnotes, and I've been criticized on that. And I've been criticized because I didn't have a table of contents. And then I said, "Oops, read the book. Why do you have to know what's coming? It makes it more exciting. It's more like a cliffhanger." But Gary Taubes' book is different because it's 460 pages of text and 100 pages of footnotes. And I'm not going to speak for Mr. Taubes. I can't, but the studies you refer to, of the 50 years or so, the countless articles, magazines, or whatnot that you state, proving me wrong. When it gets right down to it, the researchers' interpretations of the results were just wrong, and the researchers went into those studies with what they thought was the conclusion. In other words, they didn't use the scientific method. They didn't say, I have an idea, I want to prove that idea, let me formulate a way to prove this idea, let me look at my conclusions, and if my conclusions prove my idea, wow, look at how smart I am. But if they don't prove my idea, then maybe my idea wasn't the correct idea in the first place. Now, when you get the results of these dietary studies, the results are coming from the experimenters, the researchers' interpretation of the results. You consumers out there, you people, who watch the news or read it in the paper, you're not getting the actual results. You're getting interpretations. And a lot of times these interpretations are skewed, because you got to think of it this way. A lot of these researchers get government granted money. And everybody already knows, and I'm being facetious, I'm being sarcastic when I say this. Everybody knows that eating low fat and eating low cholesterol is a safe way to go. Everybody knows that eating fat and cholesterol is dangerous. Well, no, of course that's not true. So they set off with this premise in mind. So when a study shows something entirely opposite, that study gets shoved under the table. That study gets shoved under the table, and you never hear about it. One particular study in mind had 80,000 women involved. They were attempting to show that the women who ate the most amount of fiber had the least amount of colon cancer. Well, the end result of the study was that the women who ate the least amount of fiber didn't matter. They all had the same amount of colon cancer. But an interesting statistic, and I might have mentioned this on a Halloween show, an interesting statistic that came out of that, statistically significant statistics, try saying that 3 times fast, was that the women who ate the most saturated fat had the lowest amounts of breast cancer. Let me say that again. The women who ate the most saturated fat had the least amount of breast cancer. This goes against accepted dietary wisdom, because the American Cancer Society basically thinks that the consumption of fat and cholesterol in a diet increases one's risk for cancer. I make this comment to my patients. I'll say it, live here on my webcast, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack on this one, that if you want heart disease, follow the American Heart Association's dietary guidelines. If you want diabetes, follow the American Diabetes Dietary Guidelines. And if you want cancer, follow the American Cancer Society's dietary guidelines. What do all 3 of these societies have in common? They follow, they adhere to, they worship a low-fat, low-cholesterol dietary eating style.